Hello and welcome back. Matthew again. This is the Manufacturers Cup at Willow Springs, round 7 for the pre-season. Just to get the stats out the way. Qualified 8th, as you can see. I had a poor qualifying. This is the second race of the night. So top split, but second race. So most of the fast guys that picked up the good points in the first race did not join in again, which was good for me, in theory. I qualified 8th, it was a 16.9, and I knew I was capable of a lot better. Not competing with the top, but certainly better than 8th. So a bit disappointed with that, but I was really more concerned about the tyre wear, especially in the Group 4 Ferrari. When you put on the throttle, put your foot down in a turn with a Ferrari Group 4, it does just plough, and it's very easy to burn out the tyres, so you have to be very patient. Staying off throttle, like trying to hold, because it's got good mid-turn, mid-corner speed. So trying to maintain that high mid-corner speed without pushing, and then accelerating out when you got, straighter lines. When you're in a straight line. I fell off the back of Brian, who started 7th. Brian the Corvette. I had an epic battle with him in Nürburgring, which was the Group 3 cars, which he ended up winning that time. And I unfortunately haven't got a video up on that. I hope to do that one day soon. But I fell off the back of him early on and thought he might get away, but I caught back up in this sort of gaggle of cars where K Youngster, who started 6th, ends up getting ahead of Nick and John, who are currently 5th and 6th. So this battle just goes on throughout the first stint. And I just try to find a way anyway through I can, wherever I can. Turns out the Renault, well actually we kind of all know this, the Renault's got very poor straight line speed. At this point in the race you see the Toyota catches back up to me, Speedy Tyres, who started I think a few places further back, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be in trouble now because I know the Toyota's got good tyre wear and good pace around here. So certainly a lot better pace than the Ferrari, so I was afraid he was going to blast past me. But Nick, who has actually quite poor top end speed, made it quite easy to get past, and he didn't defend the inside going through that corner, so I took it through the second last corner and got in the draft with the Corvette and maintained my position. I was afraid of him coming back at me through the fast corners, but turns out it never quite happens, although he could catch back up to me quite easily. By the time he was in a decent position to pass, we were on the back straight again, and I'd be able to pull out the time I needed to get away, all while trying to save my tyres as much as possible. I think I had quite unconventional racing lines. Just looking at the rest of the field, I really hugged the inside line through turn 2, the long sweeping right-hander, and I was mid-track for the last corner, where there's a lot of people use the very outer edge of the track and come in like a more traditional racing line. But I found it saved my tyres the best, and that was, to me, the most important thing. Without tyres you can't go anywhere, and this being a very tyre limited race, I decided that was the way I was going to approach it. So you can see just up ahead, K Youngster's still holding 4th place, ahead of John and Brian. What regular names to call out. Ahead of John and Brian, obviously 5th and 6th. I'd fallen back a little bit from Brian. I was holding off the charge from the Renault behind. Once again, in the corners he could catch up, but in the straights he couldn't do anything. So as long as I didn't make a mistake in the corners, I was going to maintain my position. But I was really concentrating on, well, still saving the tyres, but trying to catch up to this group. This group stayed a little bit ahead of me because the V-dub, isn't it, up ahead, that K Youngster's driving was so fast a straight line, the other two would just latch onto his draft and keep ahead. And the Ferrari, although decent top end speed, couldn't quite keep up with the front wheel drive cars. In fact, this track entirely seems to be an Achilles heel for the Ferrari. The Ferrari doesn't like long corners or like really high end speeds. It's good switching direction in mid corner speed and slow corners, pulling out of slow corners, but there isn't really anything here. There really is only one, and that's at the top of the hill as you crest and come back down. But by the time you start to get any speed, you're into a mid-speed left-hander, which the Ferrari doesn't enjoy either. So it's really just a track made to, I guess, take the piss out of this car. So you really have to drive around it quite patiently. But you see my tyre savings coming into effect. I'm slowly catching up. These guys are kind of battling a little bit, but I'm slowly catching up with these guys ahead. Monkey Man, who qualified first with a brilliant lap time it was in the Sirocco 16.4, which impressed the hell out of me in picking up pole position. He's gone and pitted on what turns out to be a 2-stop strategy. This overtake was a complete mistake. I didn't realize. Oh, so he pitted that lap. Oh. So I thought he did a no-stopper entirely. But no, that's right, he pitted lap 5. Monkey Man pitted lap 4. He pits lap 5. And I go to pit lap 6. I didn't mean to overtake him, I was just taking my usual racing line. He was a bit slow on the wide line, and I just went up the inside of him, and I guess he left me room, which I appreciated, because it's all too easy to bump another car, like so, and get yourself a penalty. But this was quite a good battle with John. He held a position well there, did the smart thing. I went up his inside. He hung around the outside until he got to the inside again, and the better grip of the Renault made it easy for him. But then once again, the Renault without the top end speed, even in the draft, I could outdo him. Now I stayed to the inside because I did not want to be on the outside of this corner. I slip up the inside of him quite nicely. Bit slower mid-corner speed, and he does just tap me on the apex. I was going to be pitting anyway, so it turns out not too bad, and luckily enough he didn't cop a penalty for that. I wouldn't want to ruin somebody's race or have somebody's race ruined by a minor bump like that, so I'm glad he didn't get a penalty, and it didn't really cost us too much. Oh, Brian's right there. Ah, see, I was wondering how he got so far ahead. But he's only just up the road, and I got held up by the 2 cars he was ahead of, so it worked out for him quite nicely. So I needed to get past this Toyota, try to go around the outside, just stay behind him for now, and then he goes wide and lets me past, which just confused me. I mean, like, if you're gonna hold somebody up and fight for position, but then let them by, why do that? Why hold them up in the first place? Like, he's all fine for doing so. More than welcome to hold me up. He had the position, even if he hadn't pitted yet. He's got track position, he's allowed to do that. But then to go and give it up in the middle of a corner like that, I don't get it. And then he's holding up the next guy. Unless it was a mistake and he just ran wide, but it didn't seem like it. It seemed like he let me by. So that I don't quite understand. So sitting in 6th, Monkey Matt does his second stop and is currently in the pits. As you see, he's just coming out of the pits now. So he did a 2-stop strategy with the V-dub, which I thought was quite bold. But I can imagine the front-wheel drive cars are pretty harsh on their tyres around here. N-Spud, I don't believe had pitted or was going to pit. So he was up ahead of me. But aside from that, first, second, third had all pitted. So this was easy enough. I could have gone and pushed him in the corners. I had better tyres than him, so I was catching him everywhere. but I just figured I just had to wait for the straight. He'd be on par or just a bit worse than me through the corner, so he wasn't really holding me up through here, and it was just a matter of waiting for a straight and going past the Alpha, which is easy enough to do. So on to the final lap. I was catching Brian sort of hand over fist over the past couple of laps. I noticed he was understeering quite severely. I was guessing he was on medium tyres, but it turns out he was on hard tyres. So he did a 5-lap stint on mediums and then an 8-lap on the hards. It gained him in track position, it was quite smart, but now he's really suffering, and I thought I might be able to get him at the end. Monkey, who had done his 2-stopper, was not far behind, and I was afraid on his newer tyres he may still be able to catch me. Also being very quick around here in the V-dub. I thought I might get him up here. I wasn't close enough, I don't feel, to go up the inside, which is quite a nice overtaking opportunity, especially on older tyres when somebody goes wide. So it was really going to be the last corner. I'd already passed Brian earlier, and so I was going to try to do the same thing again. That really hampered me. I got a bit understeer. I was kind of blind going through there. I'll just jump back and jump into my view. See, he's right on the curb and I couldn't see the curb, and I make an error and it cost me a bit of time. It hurt my run at him, so I was trying to go, I was ideally going to go up the inside of him by now, but I couldn't, so I'm going to have to get him on the last corner. See, 150 board on the brakes, and then for some reason I just stayed on the brakes. Like, in the moment I realised what I was doing, but I don't know why I did it. I could have had him if I just come off the brakes as I normally would have. I was just too afraid of bumping him wide and ruining his race, and then mine. And then I was afraid that Monkey, with a better run through that last corner, would get me too. So a really poor attempt at an overtake. Secured Brian 3rd place, but overall getting 4th for Ferrari here around Willow Springs and starting 8th, I was really happy with that result. Could have just sailed up there, but I didn't, and I just let him take the line. And then Monkey was pretty close, but the Ferrari's got enough legs to stay ahead. So not unhappy with 4th. A little bit unhappy with that last overtake attempt. But I guess I'd rather fail an overtake attempt than actually run up the inside and bin somebody. But I reckon Brian would have been pretty fair and not tried to take the corner away from me. But yeah, you live and you learn. There's one to take into the next race. As for next race, we are at Suzuka Group 3. So the Ferrari Group 3 car is not too bad around Suzuka. Got to watch some of the curbs. It quite easily can send the car sideways. I've done a daily race around it before, so I have an idea of how it goes. So it's not too bad. It's fairly competitive. It will be the top 16 superstars, so that's going to be a bit of fun. I don't think I'm going to trouble the top 5 though. So I don't know if it's going to be worth it for me, points-wise. But we'll see. We'll give it a go. Should be good. Until then, thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. And we'll catch you next time.